Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come that you've all been waiting for. The Warlock video. This video is probably going to be very long, because Warlocks have had a ton of changes, like 2 or 3 times as many as the other 2 healing classes, and it's gonna take a while to get through everything. There's a lot of things that are new and different, and it's gonna take me a good amount of time to properly explain everything. I'm going to try my best to make it easily understandable, but if you do have any questions, please don't be afraid to leave a comment and I will do my best to answer them. So that being said, Warlock healing has finally been reworked, as I'm sure you already figured out. And that's a great thing, and I'm honestly really excited to actually try out Warlock healing in an actual group setting. I have plans to do some testing this weekend, so hopefully you guys will get to see that soon. So without further ado, let's just get started. So you open up your power screen where your powers are located, of course, and you immediately notice some things that are different, particularly around this section, because there's like 67 buttons there now that all look the same except one, the fidget spinner. They're all different mechanics related to Warlock healing, and it's pretty important that I go over the mechanics first before getting into the other powers and class features and feats, because most of the power changes and feat changes and class feature changes revolve around the use of these new mechanics. So it is really important that you understand those before trying to delve into everything else. But don't worry, I'll get to everything. So first things first, the actual resource that you are going to be using, channeling, whatever you want to call it, is not soul sparks anymore. It is called soul weave, because you're kind of like weaving the soul back together or something. It's not something that you can actively regenerate, like you can't. Previously, clerics and paladins could just hold tab to channel their divinity and refill that bar. They can't do that either anymore. So all 3 healers have this resource that passively generates. You can boost it with feats or class features or things like that, but it has a flat regeneration speed. So that is important to know, that you can't just expect to be able to get all of your soul weave back. So now that we understand that, we can talk about all the 3 lives of the Warlock, which you're probably like, 3 lives? This is like a third of a cat. No, we've got Life Spark, Life Mark, and Life Pact, which is going to be really hard to tell the difference between those 3 at first. Even knowing what all 3 of them do, I'm still like, well, which one is that? Because they're all basically the same. They all have got life at the beginning. But we'll just go in order, okay? So Life Spark is the little spark that fights by your side, and it casts something called In Spirit automatically on party members who are wounded around you. And your Life Spark is this little green ball that you can see next to me on the left of me. That's him right there. That's my whole life right there. And now it makes sense to have In Spirit be next, which is a 100 magnitude heal. And it says in there that the Life Spark is going to cast that spell. So it's not something that you can actually cast yourself. Now we have Life Mark, which if you watched either the Cleric or the Paladin video, this part is going to be pretty similar. It just has a different effect, I guess. So basically you're marking a party member, and the mark looks like the little swirly doodad fidget spinner above my head that you can see. I'm not really sure what it is with warlocks and fidget spinners, but we've seen 2 of them already, and this video just started. So yeah, Life Mark marks somebody, and it's not gonna fall off due to a cooldown or anything like that. It can only go away if you mark somebody else or the person wanders more than 100 feet away from you. And this one is one that you activate by tapping tab or tapping, it's called Command Life Spark now. And I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but just like Paladin and Cleric, it is a mechanic that you can activate different settings of depending on how long you channel it, basically. So you tap it to do Life Mark, and then you hold down to channel Life Pact, which is the last thing here that we talk about, which is basically healing the person that you have marked. This is also similar to Cleric and Paladin. This costs 60 soul weave, and it is 1000 magnitude. Now this is also not something that you cast yourself, it's something that your Life Spark will cast, but you do have control over when your Life Spark casts this, because you have to channel the Command Life Spark before like a second or 2 before it will cast it. I have also heard word that at least one of these tab mechanics is not working properly at the moment, but this video just focuses on how it's supposed to work, because, you know, Mod 19 is in basically public beta right now, and some things are probably still going to change before it goes live anyways. Okay, now that we've gone through all the mechanics, let's just do a quick review, okay? You've got your resource, which is Soul Weave. You've got a life spark, which sits beside you like a extra, like your soul puppet would, I suppose, in the DPS Paragon, and it heals people who get boo-boos. And then you can press tab to mark somebody with life mark. And then you can hold down tab to activate life pact, which will heal the marked person. So now we go back up to look at wills. Soulweaver has an entirely new at-will that replaced Essence Defiler, which was a damaging one that would restore, I think, 2 soul sparks on the 3rd hit or something like that, but it was been replaced with Infernal Barrier, and this is a change, this introduces a change that I think a lot of you will like that's present in a few other places in the new powers and stuff, so let's just go right ahead, okay? You're putting a barrier on somebody that will absorb damage equivalent to a heal of 450 magnitude with this, and it costs 20 soul weave. Since you can do this to yourself, I can actually show you that I just cast it, and look, there we go, I've got myself a little small shield. It's not as effective of a shield as Paladin, of course. It is still useful, I think, and I also think it's really cool that Warlock is getting something like this. Okay, Mr. Dude, you can face the camera now. You don't gotta be camera shy, okay? But yeah, that's what that does. And the shield lasts for 20 seconds, just like the Paladin shield, unless it is depleted, and then, you know, it goes away. And then the other at-will change that I wanted to talk about is Soul Reconstruction, which had a change very similar to the Clerics and the Paladins at-will change. So its magnitude was increased from 200 to 500, and then the soul weave cost is now 30. Okay, now on to the encounters, and there were actually some changes in the universal side of the encounter powers, basically the ones that are not determined by your Paragon path. There's been 2 changes actually, the first one being Vampiric Embrace, which now it heals yourself and nearby allies for 300 magnitude, and it costs 200 soul weave. And then the other change was Blades of Vanquished Armies, which reduces the damage that your targeted party member takes by 5% for 6 seconds. It also does do the damage to the enemies around the target as well, but it is a targeted power now. It's not something that just goes around you, unless you're targeting yourself, of course. So you can just say, hey, I want this to go on my tank, and then it will damage the tank and also reduce the damage that they take as well. So that's pretty cool. Now we have something called Revitalize, which was previously called Shatter Spark, you know, the old burst heal thing that used your soul sparks and all that. Yeah, so now it is a targeted AoE heal, so that basically brings it on par with the Clerics and Warlocks version, Divine Touch and Bastion of Health. And it has a magnitude of 1500 and costs 200 soul weave. And then just like Paladin and Cleric, its magnitude will decrease as the number of targets increases, which actually makes it more beneficial to use as a single target heal instead of an AoE heal, which is kind of that one thing that doesn't make that much sense about all of this. Now, Pillar of Power has only been changed a little bit. It used to give you a 10% increase to your damage and your outgoing healing, and then 5% damage and a little bit of heal to your allies. So now it gives 3 different buffs to whoever enters the area, which is increased damage dealt, outgoing healing, and reduced damage taken. All 3 of those are 5% for 10 seconds. However, the cooldown of this power has been increased, so you're not going to be able to keep it up 100% of the time anymore. Okay, now Wraith's Shadow. Apparently I have a hard time saying that word, Wraiths. Anyways, it used to be a damage over time, damage to the target, and heal to people around it, but now it just reduces the target's damage dealt by 5% and slows them for 6 seconds. It also does 380 magnitude damage as well, just straight out. Okay, Soul Storm, previously called Harrow Storm, if you remember, has a soul weave cost of 220. It used to be an AoE damage over time and a heal over time for 200 magnitude. But now it's just an AoE damage over time heal for 500 magnitude, and it costs 220 soul weave. And it also looks different as well, as you can see here. It looks like a whirlwind mount almost, but green and fatter. Okay, now last of the encounter powers is Warlock's Bargain. If you remember, this one used to take 10% of your maximum life, and you would gain 10% outgoing healing and heal and remove a status effect and stuff. So now it does not remove a negative effect anymore. so it won't take off that slowness in the master expeditions and all that jazz. It does still increase your outgoing healing by 10%, and it does not take away 10% of your HP anymore. So basically what it does now is it'll absorb your life spark. Remember, life spark is that little doodad that floats next to you and heals people. You absorb that and it will restore some of your soul weave for you for 10 seconds. And then your life spark will return outside of your body once the effect is over. So it doesn't do any damage, it doesn't remove status effects, and it doesn't kill you either. But it is a way to restore your resource and also gain some outgoing healing. Okay, now dailies. Warlocks are the only healing class that have had changes to their dailies, as well as class features as well. So the first thing we need to talk about is Soul Siphon, which was previously called Accursed Souls, that used to, summon the souls and do damage and stuff. So it still kind of does that, but it also will heal yourself and nearby allies for 800 magnitude. So it used to not have any healing whatsoever, and now it does. Now, the other daily is Soul Barrier, which used to be Immolation Spirits, but the power is completely different now, so I don't even know if it's really worth comparing the two. But it used to be the one that would summon the spirits that would regenerate your soul sparks. So now it once again takes advantage of your life spark, the little doodad that floats next to you, and it makes a little barrier around it, which decreases the damage taken by your party members by 10% if they stand in that area. And it also has a heal over time for 200 magnitude, and it also puts Infernal Barrier, remember that's the, basically shield, on the allies who are healed, and your life spark can't do any of its other tasks while it's doing that. It really is bad at multitasking, and it can only do one thing at a time, just like me. Okay, now that is it for dailies, and now we can move on to class features, which, like I said before, Warlock is the only one that actually had changes to class features, and they have had 4. All 4 of their Paragon-specific ones have been completely reworked, so I'm not even going to bother comparing them to what they were before, just going to talk about what they are now. So first we have Soul Bond, which heals people who are under 50% health every 10 seconds. And it is 300 magnitude, and I believe it's only one person at a time type thing, and not all of them, because I think that would be a little bit overpowered. And it also says an ally, so my assumption is that it's a single target heal every 10 seconds. Now next, we have Soul Eater, not the anime. Although that is a very good anime, that's not what this class feature is about. So Soul Eater causes you to deal more damage after most attacks, and it costs Soul Weave. So this is kind of like if you wanted to go for a hybrid damage heal type build, you would probably pick this. Although it does use your healing resource, which can be kind of risky. Now next we have Swift Command, which basically allows you to move whenever you're channeling Life Spark, Command Life Spark, which is your tab ability that activates your mark and your heal thing. Now, this might look familiar to you if you play Cleric, because Clerics also have a class feature that allows them to move at a reduced speed whenever they channel Divinity. Now lastly, but certainly not leastly, we have Borrowed Spirit, which is kind of similar to the old class feature that was called Borrowed Time, I think, but it's also not. The name is the only place where the similarities are. So Borrowed Spirit, it will only work if you have 2 healers, or at least 2 people who can heal in your group. So whenever you're healed by somebody else, you gain 50 Soul Weave, which is your healing resource, and it can only occur every 10 seconds. So basically, if you have 2 healers in a party, it's kind of encouraging that, because then you can farm off of the other healer, and it can't be an artifact or anything like that. Like, my DPS can't use a healing artifact to help me regain resource, because it has to be another person's at-will encounter or daily. And also, for those of you who are wondering, you have 1000 Soul Weave, just like you have 1000 Divinity on the other 2 healing classes. I probably should have said that earlier. Okay, so that is it for the class features, and now we move on to feats. And all 10 of them have been changed, so this is going to take a while. All of them have new names, except for 3 of them, but all of them are more or less completely different. So, just like before, I'm not going to compare them to the old ones at all. Just gonna go ahead and explain what they are now. And then you can make your decisions and I'll give my opinions, because that's how these videos work. So, the first set, we have either Essence of Time or Essence of Power. And Essence of Time will increase your Soul Weave regeneration rate every 3 seconds. And then it resets whenever you do something that uses the resource. Now, Cleric, I I don't remember if Paladin has this. This makes me a bad person, doesn't it? But I know for sure Cleric has something like this, that you can increase your regeneration rate, or maybe it was Paladin. One of the two of them have this effect, but for divinity, is what I'm trying to say. So, as you can probably tell, there are a lot of similarities between the three healers, which might be something that I address in a future video, but I'm not 100% sure yet, because I'll have to try them all out before I can make that deduction. Anyways, Essence of Power, the other one, increases your soul regeneration whenever you do damage. Paladin, I know for sure this one is Paladin. Paladin has this, but for divinity. So basically, the first section, you get to pick which way you want to regenerate soul weave more or less. Now, the second set of feats is Focus Spark or Soul Reclamation. So Focus Spark will cause your soul reconstruction at will to give you an effect called Focus Spark, which will increase the magnitude of In Spirit, the heal that your little doodad guy gives off, by 100, and then it causes that heal to focus on the person healed by your at will instead of the person you have marked. Because I'm not sure if I said this, but the In Spirit power that your little life spark dude gives off every now and then primarily focuses on the person that you have marked. And this feat will allow you to override that with an at will if you need to. I probably really should have said that earlier. Now, Soul Reclamation, the other option here, whenever you have less than 30% of your soul weave resource available, Life Spark will channel Soul Reclamation onto you, which increases your regeneration rate of soul weave. And it cannot cast the healing spell whenever it's channeling this on you because, like I said, the Soul Spark or Life Spark dude is really, really bad at multitasking. Okay, now the third section consists of Oversoul and Soul Theft. So Oversoul will give you up to 10% more damage whenever your soul weave is full. Again, this is probably for somebody who wants to go for a hybrid damage and healing type of build. And it will scale with how much soul weave you have. So it'll go down to 0% if your soul weave is empty, and then up to 10% as it's full. And then the other one is called Soul Theft, which causes you to gain 25 soul weave whenever you're hit, and it can only be every 10 seconds. So that's probably the one I would pick because I don't like to do the whole hybrid thing, and I like to focus on one thing or another because I'm bad at multitasking. Man, we've gone over this a lot today. Anyways, the fourth section consists of Bright Spark or From the Brink. And Bright Spark affects your Life Spark, as you can maybe guess by the name, but whenever you use it daily, your Life Spark gains something called Bright Spark, which increases the magnitude of the heal in spirit by 300 for 12 seconds. So that brings it up to 400. And then From the Brink, whenever you're healing people who have less than 25% HP, they will get an additional 15% healing from you. It's kind of like an, oh god, people are dying, need to save them kind of feat. Right? Now, the last section, guys, we're almost done. It's been like 20 minutes. We have Fey Pact and Hell Pact. Personally, this section is my favorite because I like both options, but I feel like I'm leaning more towards one than the other. Anyways, Fey Pact causes Revitalize, which is your primary healing encounter. Soulstorm, another healing encounter. And In Spirit, the Doodad heal. They now have a heal over time as well. So you'll get the heal from them, and then they'll also have a heal over time after that. I just don't know what the magnitude is. That would be nice to know. Hell Pact, the other side of this, causes those same 3 powers, 2 healing encounters, and your Doodad heal. It causes them to have an infernal barrier on them as well, which will absorb damage based on the strength of the heal, just like all the other barriers that Warlocks have. So that one I think is going to be the strongest, but I also think that the heal over time could also be useful as well. But I just feel like most people are going to go with the barrier because shielding is OP. So that is all of the changes to Warlock. There were a lot of them. I hope it made sense, but there have been a ton of changes, and I do encourage all of you to jump on preview and test them out and let me know what you think. We all have first impressions, but sometimes our first impressions end up not being what we actually think of something later on. In the first 2 videos, the Cleric and Paladin video, I went on to talk about semi-healing related gear and bonuses and weapon sets and stuff, but I'm not going to do that in this video just because the video is long enough as it is, and there was so much information to digest here that I don't want to make it run on longer than it needs to. But if you're interested in that, you can go watch either of the other 2 videos. At the end of those videos, I have that section. Although there is something missing that I didn't know about in it. but I'll address that later. Anyways, thank you for watching or listening or whatever. I hope you found this video informative and helpful. Let me know what you think of Warlocks in Mod 19, if you think they're going to become a viable healer, because I do think so. I've already seen people using them in the new trial, and it seems to be going pretty well. That's always a good thing. I've always liked Warlock healing before, but I think I'm gonna like it even more now. But I will let you know. With that being said, have a good day. Okay, bye.